Hello, it is August 27th and it is 8:30 p.m. So right now, the thing that I had to really talk about is Farrah the Greedy Framer. There are certain things that we need to talk about Farrah the Greedy Framer. First of all, the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer is now advertising her abnormal looking ugly daughter named Zara to me again. So this is from 2:33 p.m. just today, 2:33 p.m. It says Zara on there, who doesn't look anything like that, by the way. Her daughter Zara is this socially awkward, ugly looking weirdo creep and his stalker who just wouldn't let me go. And this is from today at 2:33 p.m. on August 27th. And her daughter Zara doesn't look anything like that. Her daughter Zara is an abnormal looking ugly duckling dark skinned weirdo creep who's socially awkward, can't stand outside for 10 minutes to help save her life. Is just how she is, and she won't stop advertising her abnormal looking ugly daughter Zara to me even right now on August 27th. The courts have to understand the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer only started doing this right when she went to go get Ifrah married. U.S. intelligence is witness to the fact that no one ever told Farrah the Greedy Framer anything about my brain savant ever, which means that somehow she found out about it when she went to go get Ifrah married. Farrah the Greedy Framer needs to tell us who told her about my brain savant, mainly due to the fact that the person, it was no surprise and no secret that the person who made the scathing police report against U.S. intelligence in the year 2019 was in fact working for the terror-backed factions of the ISI, due to which obviously Farrah the Greedy Framer is getting her green card rejected and thrown back to her country. It was no secret that that was what it was, mainly due to the fact that when she was making that police report against, scathing police report against U.S. intelligence, the person whom she was making it against, she was sleeping with all of his quote-unquote friends at the time when she was making that police report, clearly proven from facts and evidences that someone had infiltrated his entire friend circle. India's not going to do that in Pakistan, China's not going to do that, Russia's not going to do that in Pakistan, so it could only be the ISI. But the ISI happened to be working for their government, which was working for the US government in 2019. So then how is the ISI doing this? Mainly due to the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer used to sleep with, like how she used to sleep with everyone, she used to sleep with people in the terror-backed factions of the ISI, and like her greed for money, due to which she cannot stop advertising her abnormal looking ugly daughter Zara to me all day night long right now. She was basically lusting after power, and for lusting after power, she was sleeping with someone who was part of the terror-backed factions of the ISI, like how she likes sleeping with everyone in the world. So what ended up happening was the person whom she was sleeping with, who was a part of the terror-backed factions of the ISI, told Farrah the Greedy Framer that they needed a favor from Farrah the Greedy Framer. They told her that they had infiltrated all of the friends for the person in U.S. intelligence at that time, and that all she had to do was stop sleeping with him while continuing to sleep with all of his friends in order to provoke him into doing something stupid and running after her. When he would do so, she would go and make a scathing police report that would already be pre-made by a person in the terror-backed factions of the ISI, a police officer working for the terror-backed factions of the ISI. She would go in there, sign it, and then come out of that police station. That police report, by the way, the next day is going to end up in the hands of every single news anchor in the country of Pakistan in the year 2019, along with every single person out in the streets protesting, saying the words "Death to America," all done by Farrah the Greedy Framer and her friends in the terror-backed factions of the ISI. How do we know this? What's the evidence behind this? First of all, the first evidence for this is the fact that the police officer who made the scathing police report for Farrah the Greedy Framer never asked her any questions. Second evidence is the fact that that police officer was in fact working for the terror-backed factions of the ISI. Third evidence is the fact that when a woman is scared of getting raped and murdered, she doesn't go sleeping around. Definitely not with the person's friends who is supposed to be raping and murdering her. Clearly proven from facts and evidences that his friend's circle was definitely infiltrated by someone, and only intelligence agencies are known to be doing these kinds of things. Clearly proven from facts and evidences that someone from the terror-backed factions of the ISI asked Farrah the Greedy Framer for a favor, which she did, and now the evidence is out there that the police officer was definitely working for the terror-backed factions of the ISI, due to which Farrah the Greedy Framer is now getting her green card rejected and thrown back over to her country. The evidence is all out there. You just need to ask Farrah the Greedy Framer, Farrah, who told you about Hassan's brain savant when you were getting Ifrah married? Why are you running after him so greedily? What's your issue? When someone doesn't like your abnormal looking ugly daughters, why do you try to force your ugly looking abnormal daughters on people? It's a very simple question. I'm not interested. I told her I'm not interested, so leave me the heck alone. So basically, yes. You have other things that are going to be evidence as well, and the witnesses for these other things obviously are going to be the same people in U.S. law enforcement that are BFFs with Farrah the Greedy Framer right now, which is the fact that after she came over to the U.S., she was clearly in contact with some really deadly people from overseas who were giving her intelligence on every single thing that U.S. intelligence was telling her at that time, what was true, what was false, everything about it. So basically, clearly proven for facts and evidence is the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer was definitely working for the terror-backed factions of the ISI, and U.S. law enforcement intelligence themselves are going to basically be a witness to this now. The other thing that we have to understand is the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer is now only friends with the people in U.S. law enforcement, like how she was friends with people in the terror-backed factions of the ISI in 2019. That was due to the lust for power. Right now, it is due to the greed for money. Basically, the terror-backed factions of the ISI were basically going to provide her intelligence, tell her about who the best person would be to marry her daughters, who could provide for her better than any doctor or engineer ever could. Me. Obviously, as soon as she comes back from getting Ifrah married, the first thing she tells U.S. intelligence is, can you advertise Angelina Jolie on his TV home screen? You can ask U.S. law enforcement. They will tell you that's what she said as soon as she came back. Everyone in U.S. law enforcement U.S. intelligence was in a state of shock. Like, they were just like, what? Why? You don't want your daughter to be happily married? She just got her married. No. Basically, she obviously heard about my brain savant while she was getting Ifrah married, due to which she came back, started harassing me right away for her abnormal-looking, ugly daughters, right away, whom I have no intention of marrying, by the way. I do not want to marry these ugly-looking weirdos anyways. But, yeah, as soon as she comes back from Pakistan after getting Ifrah married, the first thing she tells U.S. intelligence says, can you advertise my daughter Ifrah to Hassan, despite no one from the U.S. ever telling her about my brain savant. Obviously, she found out about it from the terror-backed faction of the ISI when she went to go get her daughter Ifrah married in Pakistan. So basically, yes, now she's harassing me all day, night long. So basically, she has to answer simple questions. Who told her about my brain savant when she was getting Ifrah married? If no one did, then why did she just suddenly come back and start advertising the same daughter who had just gotten married in Pakistan? She only started advertising her through U.S. intelligence as soon as she comes back, and then started sending me these incest requests all day and night long, harassing me all day and night long. So yes, these were basically coming to me all year 2024, marked as an incest request by Farrah the Greedy Framer, just like how it was last month. And this month, it was already marked as an incest request in the year of 2024. Yes, this abnormal woman just won't quit it. This was marked as an incest request on March the 4th, and yet it was still sent to me recently on July 21st at 7:03 a.m. right over there. There you go. It shows it right there. Okay. Multiple kinds of incest requests. This was marked as an incest request, February 11th, 3:17 a.m. It was still, look at the date on there. It says March 7th. It was marked as an incest request, February 11th, 3:17 a.m. This abnormal woman still sent it to me on March 7th for a porn star with her name on the bottom of it. So yes, Farrah the Greedy Framer was running after her lust for power in 2019 by sleeping with the people in the terror-backed factions of the ISI, doing them a favor by sleeping with all of a person in U.S. law enforcement, U.S. intelligence's friends who had been infiltrated by them by then, and then signing a scathing police report after he came running after her, saying, why are you sleeping with my friends when you're not sleeping with me? Clearly provoking him that a foreign intelligence agency had basically done against him in order to provoke him into doing something against Farrah the Greedy Framer, who then went and made a scathing police report against that individual. So very simple questions have to be asked. that police officer at the police station never asked for the Greedy Framer. Very simple questions. How did you know this person? Had you been sleeping with him? How does he have your number? All of these questions. Do you know any of his friends? Are you sleeping with his friends right now? All these very simple questions. Why are you sleeping with his friends when you think of him as being a danger to you, who's going to rape and murder you? Obviously, because his friends were infiltrated by terror-backed factions of the ISI, and that was the entire point of making the police report against that individual. Now, very simple questions have to be asked for the Greedy Framer. Who was it that told her about my brain savant? If no one did when she was in Pakistan getting her daughter Ifra married, then why did she suddenly come back and start asking U.S. intelligence to start advertising the daughter who had just gotten married, Ifra, by putting Angelina Jolie on my YouTube all day, night long? Why did she start doing that? Why did these incest requests start coming to me right afterwards to try to check to see how much of her greed she could pretty much fulfill through my brain savant that she had found out by the terror-backed faction of the ISI. So now that entire thing has been done, we have finally figured it out. We know for a fact U.S. intelligence knows fully about the person who made the scathing police report against U.S. intelligence in 2019, linked fully to the terror-backed factions of the ISI. You got to remember, when a country's economy is bad, all of its operatives are basically sold out. So all the terror-backed factions operatives are probably sold out by the U.S. government, and it's not going to take them more than 10 seconds to find out the fact that the police officer who obviously made the scathing police report against U.S. law enforcement in 2019 was obviously working for the terror-backed factions of the ISI. That much is a guaranteed fact. Now, obviously, Farrah the Greedy Framer is going to get her green card rejected and her thrown out of the country. There's no doubt about it. They're not going to keep a terror-backed faction spy over here who was clearly spying for them, helping them get U.S. intelligence kicked out of the country of Pakistan in the year 2019. That's impossible. Okay, now the things that Farrah the Greedy Framer has to understand about the court of law and law and order is the fact that crimes are, first of all, crimes are in a court of law, crimes are what are charged. Sayings are not. Adults are whom are charged. Children are whom are not. So basically you have two scenarios. One is in 2011 with Farrah the Greedy Framer's brother, my dad the Greedy Framer, who has now been banned from the US and England due to what he was doing and what I had witnessed him do, and due to which his circus was closed down, and due to which he had to be tipped off by US law enforcement. Basically what my dad the Greedy Framer in 2011 was doing was that he was recruiting people to go join terror groups, and he was doing so, which was obviously a crime. He was doing so on a regular basis every single day, around 50 people from his house every single day, due to which they had to put a government informant in his house in 2011. Now, who would sit next to him when he would give his sermons on the last day before they had to tip him off and tell him to close the circus down, which he had to do. Now, he did send people to go join terror groups before then, due to which every time he would come over to the U.S., he would be followed around by the FBI, who would go to Ibrahim's envious, greedy mother, who would then tell the FBI, basically, Ibrahim's greedy, envious mother would tell the FBI that they were harassing her, and she would tell the FBI to get off of her property. Okay, so now we know these facts about what my dad, the Greedy Framer, was doing. Now, the thing that Farrah the Greedy Framer has to understand is what she did against U.S. intelligence, trying to get them kicked out of the country of Pakistan in the year 2019, knowingly that she was doing something that no woman who is being raped and murdered does. She was sleeping with all of the friends for the person who was supposed to be raping and murdering her, clearly proving from facts and evidences that she was not under the fear of rape and murder, but that she was working for someone due to which she was doing that. You never, if a woman around this town is going to be under the anxiety and fear of someone raping and murdering her, she's definitely not going to go out and start sleeping around with everyone. Okay, definitely not the friends of the person who's supposed to be raping and murdering her. That is common sense. Someone guaranteed her safety. Someone guaranteed her peace of mind. Someone guaranteed her that friendship that would last a lifetime with the powerful people. And that guarantee is what Farrah the Greedy Framer was lusting after. She was obviously not under a state of fear, anxiety, or anything of that sort of nature, since if she was, she wouldn't be sleeping around at that time. Definitely not with the friends of the person who was supposed to be raping and murdering her. That's unheard of in this world. Okay, first of all, if a woman is in fear of getting raped and murdered, she's not going to be sleeping around in the first place. And if she would be, it definitely sure as heck are not going to be the friends of the person who's supposed to be raping and murdering her. It's clearly proven from facts and evidence is the fact that that person's friend circle was fully infiltrated by a foreign intelligence agency, and Farrah the Greedy Framer was acting on their directions, doing them a favor to provoke this person to get U.S. intelligence kicked out of that country of Pakistan in the year 2019. So we know for a fact that what the scathing police report was basically mentioning was basically not true. Now, Farrah the Greedy Framer can claim that the people that she was sleeping with at that time were not his friends, at which point it would become clear from facts and evidences the fact that she knew that they weren't his friends, even though they were supposed to be, mainly due to the fact that they were obviously infiltrated by the terror-backed factions of the ISI. Now, so moving on to the second point. My second point mainly is the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer has to understand the fact that crimes are charged, sayings are not. The other thing is adults are charged, children are not. So, first of all, you have crimes and adults in 2011, you have children and sayings and when I was a child, when the war occurred around the year 2001, when I was an 11-year-old child. So in the year 2011, what ended up happening was my dad, the Greedy Framer, was encouraging people to go join terror groups in the masses, around 50 people each and every day, before they put in a government informant sitting right next to him. Excuse me, and my dad, the Greedy Framer, had to be tipped off. They had two options, and this law enforcement team has never done any work. So the one option was doing a lot of work and an investigation, and the other option was tipping him off and just letting it go. So they tipped him off, obviously. But the governments are not that stupid. What ended up happening was the government was already following this from before. They had evidence of him sending people to go join terror groups, due to which now he's banned from the US and England both. Now, so the first fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer has to understand is the fact that crimes are charged, sayings are not. So what Farrah the Greedy Framer was doing in 2011, that was definitely a crime. We know for a fact that that was a crime, mainly due to the fact that the facts and evidences would clearly prove the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer was sleeping with all the friends of the person in U.S. law enforcement that was supposed to be raping and murdering her, which was clearly proving from facts and evidence is the fact that Farrah the Greedy Framer basically, she wasn't in a state of fear, and she was definitely working for the terror-backed factions of the ISI in the year 2019. Due to how it is. Now, she can claim that I was only sleeping with his friends because they weren't his friends, but then the question is going to be raised is, how do you know this? Because this guy in U.S. intelligence would take pictures of himself with these people all day and night long and try to show them off online all day and night long to try to show that he had a lot of friend circle and these were his friends. So clearly, Farrah the Greedy Framer is, she knows a lot about things that she's not supposed to know, such as the guy's friend circle is not really his friend. How does she know this? First of all, obviously the terror-backed factions of the ISI told her, and the other thing that we have to remember is the fact that these people who Farrah the Greedy Framer is going to now say weren't really his friends. Well, he's been taking pictures of them and posting them online all day and night long, honey. Why is he doing that if he doesn't think of them as being his friends? Obviously, he thinks of them as being his friends. What he doesn't know is that they've been infiltrated by the terror-backed factions of the ISI, and he is being provoked into doing something stupid so that the entire U.S. intelligence would get kicked out of the country of Pakistan in the year 2019. Now, Farrah the Greedy Framer can say that, if they weren't his friends, if they were his friends. So now, if they were his friends, then why are you sleeping with the friends of the person who's supposed to be raping and murdering you? You're supposed to be a woman under fear. Doesn't make any sense. If she says they weren't his friends, then how do you know they weren't his friends? Obviously, they weren't his friends, but he was taking pictures of them with him all day and night long to try to show his big friend circle. But if she knows that they weren't his friends, how do you know they weren't his friends? Obviously they weren't his friends, and the reason they weren't was because they were infiltrated by the terror-backed factions of the ISI. Only an intelligence agency could do that. So either she claims they were or they weren't. Farrah the Greedy Framer is screwed in both places, mainly due to the fact that the only right answer in this case and scenario is the fact that they were supposed to be his friends at one time, but then the Karabakh faction of the ISI wanted an easy and nice way out of the problems that they were having with U.S. intelligence being in their country, and they decided they would infiltrate his friends and provoke him into doing something against Fire the Greedy Framer that would give them a nice police report, scathing police report that would end up in the hands of every anchorman the next day, along with all the people in the streets shouting out "Death to America." Is that not what happened? The third option is obviously what happened. And if that is what happened, the Fire the Greedy Framer has to understand the fact that you don't have to be a genius to solve this one, honey. Everyone knows you were working for them, and everyone knows you committed a crime, not just against someone, but against an entire country's intelligence agency, to have them kicked out of the country of Pakistan as a nice and easy way out using a woman such as Fire the Greedy Framer. You can name her whatever you want, label her whatever you want. Now, the thing that Fire the Greedy Framer has to understand is the fact that crimes are basically charged in a court of law, sayings are not. Adults are charged in a court of law, children are not. So what Fire the Greedy Framer did was basically a conspiracy and a very huge crime against an entire nation to have their national security weekend. And by the way, the saying that Fire the Greedy Framer was using in 2019 was, believe it or not, she was saying these people, U.S. intelligence, are a risk to your national security in Pakistan, mainly due to the fact that they're raping and murdering a woman. So basically, the third option was the right one. She can't claim they were his friends, mainly due to the fact that if they were his friends, then she's supposed to be under anxiety. She's not supposed to be sleeping with them. She's supposed to be scared woman who's supposed to be scared of getting raped and murdered. The only reason she would be sleeping with them is due to someone guaranteeing her safety with them. Now, if they weren't his friends, then, well, he's taking pictures with them all day and night long on social media, claiming that he's got a really big friend circle and they're all his BFFs. Now, if you know that they're not his friends, who's informing you? So it's only the third option that's there, which is they were supposed to be his friends, but they were infiltrated by the Karabakh factions of the ISI, who needed a nice and quick, easy way out for themselves in Pakistan to get U.S. intelligence kicked out of that country in the year 2019, and they used Fire the Greedy Framer for their easy way out. Fire the Greedy Framer decided to help them due to her lust for power, just like how she's deciding to help U.S. law enforcement right now due to her greed for money, mainly due to the fact that the Karabakh factions of the ISI, when she went to go get her daughter Ifra married, informed her that she asked them basically saying, I need to get my daughter Ifra married. Who do you think is going to be able to do this for me the best? And they basically told her, there is one person that U.S. intelligence is hiding from you, and he's literally in your backyard. If you get this guy, he will make you more money than any doctor and engineer can ever imagine. This guy right over here with the brain savant. Now, the Karabakh factions of the ISI basically told her all the details about my brain savant while she was there getting her daughter Ifra married, due to which it's her greed for money, due to which she won't stop advertising her daughters to me. And this is from today, August 27, 2:33 p.m. And her daughter looks nothing like that, but since her name is Zara, I knew that this was her daughter being advertised. And this woman would advertise literally, who dresses up like a nude, like a nun, would literally send me nudes for her daughter if she could, only to try to get me and force me to marry her daughters. And her abnormal looking, weirdo, ugly daughters, whom I said on June 16, I had absolutely no intention on marrying, and I do not like her abnormal looking, ugly daughters at all. So yes, there you go, there you have it. Now, the thing that Fire the Greedy Framer has to understand is the fact that in a court of law, crimes are charged, sayings are not, adults are charged, children are not. So in 2011, my dad, the Greedy Framer, was basically committing a crime, which was sending people to go join terror groups. That was a crime, okay? Anything that law enforcement might give for the Greedy Framer at this time to try to use against me, you have to remember the fact that it's the same law enforcement who gave her November 20th. She was fully involved in it, due to which she was kicked out of the spokesperson stand as soon as the government informant was announced. Early January, she was basically what ended up happening was in early January she knew that these were complete and total lies. Okay, and we know for a fact that she knew that these were complete and total lies, mainly due to the fact that she started advertising her daughters to me on March the 9th. And in fact, this advertisement for incest was actually sent to me on March the 7th. We know for a fact that this is an advertisement for incest, mainly due to the fact that it was already advertised for incest on February 11th at 3:17 a.m. And what ended up happening was, So basically, let me tell you who Sunny Leone is. Sunny Leone is basically a pornographic star, actress. Not saying anything bad about her. I'm sure she's an amazing human being. But this is supposed to be Sunny Leone with Fur the Greedy Framer. Right over there. It says Fur right there. This is, you got to look at the date over here. It's March 7th. Okay, it's March 7th. It was already labeled as an open advertisement for incest on February 11th at 3:17 a.m. You have to remember the fact that she's advertising incest to me on March the 7th. When does the government informant testify that these were confessed lies? Mid-March. The government informant hasn't even testified yet that these are confirmed lies. So why is Fur the Greedy Framer advertising incest with me in order to get illegal assurances of money? It doesn't make any sense. She hasn't even been caught yet. The government informant hasn't even testified yet. It's not even mid-March yet. The testimony from the government informant saying that every single thing that Fur the Greedy Framer is saying is a complete and total lie hasn't even come yet. Mainly due to the fact that Fur the Greedy Framer knew that these were complete and total lies that were already confessed to the government informant before November 20th. So these weren't some things that her sister just told her to say. Her sister told her, these are complete and total lies. I'm still having you say these. And then when Fur the Greedy Framer realized that these lies were already confessed to the government informant, she ended up advertising incest in exchange for illegal assurances of money before the government informant had even testified in mid-March that these were confessed lies to him before November 20th. So basically, Fur the Greedy Framer is a liar and fabricator, and she was using law enforcement for her greed for money to try to get me either enviously my brain somewhat locked up or in a position of so much pressure that I'm pressured into marrying her abnormal looking ugly daughters for her greed for money. Basically using law enforcement like how she, for her greed for money, like how she used the terror back factions of the ISI in 2019 for her lust for power. So basically what it is yes. So basically she ended up advertising incest to me on March the 7th. Now this is incest since it was advertised February 11th at 3:17 a.m. and she was told, look, Fur the Greedy Framer, we understand you love money and we understand the terror back factions of the ISI have told you about Hassan's brain savant. But one thing you have to understand is that in the country of the US, incest is considered a crime, and sending someone a porn star's picture with your name on it is considered an open advertisement for incest. But still, on March 7th, she couldn't help herself. She knew that these were the second set of lies that she was about to get caught with, since this first set was November 20th, and she was kicked out of the spokesperson stand as soon as the government informant was announced, mainly due to the fact that she was fully involved in November 20th false testimony. So the one from early January were the second set of false testimonies. We know for a fact Fur the Greedy Framer knew that these were complete and total lies instead of just being something where her sister told her to just say it, mainly due to the fact that before the government informant even came out and testified that these were complete and total lies, Fur the Greedy Framer is already advertising incest to me on March 7th, which means that she knew that the government informant, testimony was about to come out in mid-March 2026, mainly clearly saying that Fur the Greedy Framer was a liar for the second time, that she was a liar for the second time in mid-March 2026, but she knew that these were lies, due to which that advertisement was from March the 7th, before his testimony even come out. The second set of lies were also known lies that she knew she was fully fabricating against me for envy of my brain savant to fabricate false testimonies against me. lock up my brain savant so no one else's daughter could get the money that her abnormal looking, ugly, weirdo looking daughters, socially awkward ones, cannot get. Now, she took a little break between February and March, and in that break, obviously, Farrah the Greedy Framer, being as greedy as she is, had already advertised incest to me, and so all she did was send me blackmail price tags for millions of dollars. Mainly this one, $60 million sent to me 8 times. You gotta look at the date over there. It says March 5th. First one was sent on February 21st. I looked at it. I knew it was an open advertisement for incest. I said no on February 21st. Still sent to me on March 5th, meaning that she knew that she was sending me blackmail price tags for millions of dollars, which I never agreed to, and I told law enforcement to tell her that she will not get a single penny out of me. And yes, the advertisements for incest, by the way, are still continuing even till this month right now. So this is August the 11th, 3 minutes before midnight. You have to look at the second picture. Why does Aunt May keep getting younger? Her abnormal looking face that does not, looks like a big blob of I don't even know what, with scarf covering over it, and it says it right there. Why does Aunt May keep getting younger? It says it right there. Yes. So this abnormal woman won't stop advertising incest nonetheless. Now, the thing you have to remember is throughout February and March, all this abnormal woman, Farrah the Greedy Framer, did was sent me requests for money, blackmail price tags of millions of dollars. Then in early April, she starts making more lies that are caught to be complete and total lies from facts and evidence retrieved from the phone conversation. So you have to understand the fact that all these were lies that Farrah the Greedy Framer got from law enforcement. And so Farrah the Greedy Framer basically knows nothing about anything that anyone could have said around me when I was a child. You have to understand the fact that I was only adult supervised as a child. It could only be something that someone said, well, would be law enforcement's own BFF like Uncle Joey, only temporarily, daily, only due to the force and necessity of my single mother, only until I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. It was never a crime like what Farrah the Greedy Framer's brother was doing in 2011, sending people to go join terror groups, nor was it a crime like helping a foreign intelligence agency kick out U.S. intelligence from their country like how Farrah the Greedy Framer was doing in 2019. But instead, there were only sayings that anyone could have said around me as a child when I was a child. And you have to understand the fact that these sayings were never a crime, since it wasn't a crime committed, none attempted, none conspired to commit either, which means that Farrah the Greedy Framer had nothing to do with it. She knew nothing about it, and she was just handed these over by law enforcement after November 20th, after early January, after early April, were all caught to be complete and total lies, and she knew that these were all lies since you started advertising incest on March 7th, despite the government informant testifying in mid-March. Now, if anyone around me as a child could have, like Uncle Joey, who was law enforcement's BFF since 2001, could have said anything even remotely considered bad around me, it would not constitute a crime. Farrah the Greedy Framer needs to understand that no one's conspiring and helping a foreign intelligence agency like the terror-backed faction of the ISI kick out U.S. intelligence from a country of Pakistan in 2019, like how Farrah the Greedy Framer was doing, backed by facts and evidences. Police officer is linked to the terror-backed faction of the ISI who made the scathing police report. She is sleeping with all of his friends. If she says that they weren't his friends, then how does she know they weren't his friends? He was taking pictures with them, posting them online, saying that these are all my friends. And if she says these were his friends, then how are you sleeping with his friends? Are you not scared? Look at the scathing police report. How are you not scared, woman? You made that scathing police report saying you were about to die from this guy. How are you not scared of sleeping with his friends? Clearly, they were infiltrated. They weren't his friends. They were supposed to be, but they weren't, mainly due to the fact that they were infiltrated by terror-backed factions of the ISI that Farrah the Greedy Framer was helping. There's no doubt about it. You just have to use common sense. Farrah the Greedy Framer is as guilty as it gets, just like her brother, my dad, the Greedy Framer, who has now been banned from the US and England for sending a government informant to go join a terror group. So basically, yes, the facts and evidences will clearly prove this. Now, the thing that you have to really understand about Farrah the Greedy Framer is Farrah the Greedy Framer has to understand the fact that crimes are charged in the court of law, sayings are not. So if one of law enforcement's BFFs like Uncle Joey, who's been a BFF of law enforcement since 2001, could have said anything around me as a child, that could have been considered bad in the most remote sense possible or the most sense possible, it would only be saying. It would never be doing. Even if, so let's say it was 2001, I was an 11-year-old child, Uncle Joey goes on CNN or any website that is a legal website that's not a terrorist website, and he sees someone dying 50,000 miles away and he says, I'm so glad they died. They weren't supposed to be in that country in the first place, or anything like that in the year 2001 when the war occurred and I was an 11-year-old child, that would still not constitute a crime. It would carry blame. It would not constitute a crime. Who would that blame go to? First, for one, Uncle Joey, because he said it. Then second blame would go to the adult who said it. Now, if my mother was there and she was there in that setting and she heard him say that, and that's on record, then I'd have to be a liar. I wasn't being adult supervised then, now was I? If my mother's there, then I'm not being adult supervised. The only way I could be adult supervised is that in every single instance that this happens, my mother's never there. She's at work, obviously. So basically, she's either working at fast food restaurants in the afternoon or in factories at nighttime. So she cannot be there. So now you have to look at the evidence over here. Who's to be blamed? The child who's not even mentally mature enough yet, due to which he's being blamed of being adult supervised. The same child who's so 100% confident that his mother cannot be present there, since the entire point of him being adult supervised by one of law enforcement's BFFs since 2001, like Uncle Joey, was due to him needing adult supervision by anyone willing to do so for free, since his mother was a single mother working in fast food restaurants. Who's going to be blamed? Uncle Joey for one. Number two, anyone who knew about it. Who knew about it? Law enforcement definitely did. Okay, they knew for a fact this was not just a game. They had to know about these things. They knew. Okay, so they're to be blamed. For the greedy framer, it has nothing to do with this talking point, by the way. Even though it wasn't a crime to begin with, she has nothing to do with it. The only reason she's been given this talking point is because her lies from November 20th has been caught to be a complete and total lie. We know she was involved. She was kicked out of the spokesperson stand as soon as the government informant was announced. Her lies from early January have been caught to be complete and total lies, as it was confessed to the government informant by her own sister, Ibrahim's greedy, envious mother. We know that she, for the greedy framer, knew that these were complete and total lies, mainly due to the fact that she started advertising incest to me on March the 7th, and the government informant did not testify that these were confessed lie until mid-March 2026. Clearly proving from facts and evidence is the fact that that for the greedy framer knew that the early January lies were in fact lies before the government informant had even testified in mid-March. Then early April, those were lies as well. We just know that these were lies, mainly due to the fact that everyone had to go through a lot of work in order to go through every single phone conversation to find out that every single thing that Farah the Greedy Framer was doing in April as well, saying was complete and total lie, and her motive obviously being just the fact that she could not bear to see someone else's daughter with the brain savant money that she was informed about by the terror-backed faction of the ISI, by the way. No one else. She found out about it when she was getting Ifra married. The only people that operate in over there are the ISI, but the ISI, obviously the only intelligence agencies would know about my brain savant. The brain savant has gone through a brain scanner using artificial intelligence that is with basically this country's intelligence knows about it. So if any other country knows about it, it's basically their intelligence that knows about it. So ISI. But ISI was working for their own government, who was working for basically the US government at that time. So it had to be the terror-backed faction of the ISI. Now, you have to understand the fact that it was due to greed. This is today, 2:33 p.m. It says Zara on it, her daughter's name, who doesn't look anything like that, by the way. Her daughter Zara is this ugly duckling, weirdo, abnormal looking freak who is also socially awkward. She's been trying to force her daughter onto me every single day, and I told her I'm not interested. I don't know what her problem is, but yes, her problem is basically greed. Now, she got caught lying for the third time in early April with the phone conversations retrieved, saying that these were complete and total lies from the facts and evidences retrieved from the phone conversations. So, if Farah the Greedy Framer says that she knew about anything even remotely considered bad being said around me as a child, these are obviously lies. Okay, she didn't know about anything. If she did, she would have basically used this talking point earlier on November 20th, early January, even early April, but she did not. She used lies at that time, which means that these are complete and total lies. And Farah the Greedy Framer needs to understand the fact that she is the criminal over here, and anything even remotely considered bad said around me as a child could not have been even consider a crime. They're only sayings, they're not doing, and they're sayings by law enforcement's own BFFs like Uncle Joey, whom they've been committing sex schemes and money frauds with since 2001. Whereas what Farah the Greedy Framer was doing in 2019, getting U.S. intelligence kicked out of the country of Pakistan, was in fact a crime, due to which her green card will be taken away as soon as that police report is found to be made by a person working for a terror-backed faction of the ISI. I can guarantee you that much. And her brother, who was committing a crime by sending people to go join terror groups, we know this for a fact due to the fact that he has been banned from the U.S. and England. So Farah the Greedy Framer needs to understand the fact that neither I have committed any crimes, attempted to do so, never conspired to do so, and no one around me has ever done so either. Saying anything is not a crime, no matter what anyone could have said around me when I was a child, when the war occurred, when I was an 11-year-old child, by one of law enforcement's own BFFs like Uncle Joey or any of their other BFFs. So those were not crimes to begin with. In court of law, only crimes are charged. So we can only charge what Farah the Greedy Framer was doing in 2019, kicking U.S. intelligence out. She could answer the questions herself. Were those the guy's friends whom she was sleeping with when she made the scathing police report? If they were her friends, his friends, then why was she sleeping with them? She's supposed to be a scared woman from that police report that we read in 2019. If she says they weren't his friends, then how do you know they weren't his friends? You were not supposed to know that. He's taking pictures of those men all day and night long, posting it online as, these are my friends, my circle, my friends. How do you know they weren't his friends? Who informed you they weren't his friends? Did the terror-backed factions of the ISI inform you that? They could tell you that, and the only way you would know that they're not his friends is due to them infiltrating them. So whether it's yes or no, she's still screwed both ways. The only option that it could be for that answer is that they were supposed to be his friends, but they were infiltrated by the terror-backed factions of the ISI, who needed Farah the Greedy Framer's help in getting U.S. intelligence kicked out of that country of Pakistan in 2019, due to which her scathing police report was being coded in between the lines by all of the countries, every single one of the countries' news anchors at the time in the year 2019, letting everyone know that basically the anchormen of the country of Pakistan in the year 2019 were fully aware of the scathing police report that were handed to them by the terror-backed factions of the ISI. So clearly, Farah the Greedy Framer was definitely working for them, and they did provide her with intelligence after she came over to the U.S. Right after 2019, and I have the best witnesses to this fact. My witnesses are the people in U.S. law enforcement right now who are on her side, who used to put this on my TV home screen right after she came over to the U.S. So she was definitely getting help from them. And we also have the evidence of the fact that someone informed her about my brain savant when she was getting IFRA married in Pakistan. Someone did it over there. Only the ISI operates over there. And as we know this for a fact, since as soon as she comes back, she says, the daughter that I just got married, I want to check her chances of marrying Hassan first. Since someone in the ISI basically told her that this guy Hassan with his brain savant can make your daughters richer than any doctor engineer ever could, due to which the first question that she asked U.S. intelligence as soon as she comes back from getting IFRA married is, what were the chances of IFRA marrying Hassan? Can you check for that for me? She asked U.S. intelligence to answer that question, and they're shocked, not because her daughter is just gotten married at that time, which sounds insane, but due to the fact that no one told Farah the Greedy about my brain savant, Greedy Framer about my brain savant, making it a mystery. Who told her in Pakistan? Only one group of people could. Only the intelligence agencies of countries could, and only one intelligence agency that operates in Pakistan. Since that intelligence agency works for the U.S. government or their own government, it was basically the terror-backed factions of the ISI, who were basically the people that Farah the Greedy Framer was working with for her lust for power, just like how she's working for her greed for money right now. Clearly shown not from just the incest request that she sent me this very month of August, but also due to how aggressively she sends me ads for abnormal looking ugly daughters, which she literally will not stop at any cost. No matter how much I would tell her to stop sending me. Her daughter, abnormal looking daughter, Zara, by the way, doesn't look anything like that, but it says Zara right on there. Her daughter looks like an abnormal looking, ugly duckling weirdo who is also socially awkward, and I have no interest in her, and she needs to stop sending me these. Thank you.